Hello anybody and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. I'm Mr. Devious, or just Deeb, and in the last episode, we cleared the rest of K. Rool's keep, only for Kaptain K. Rool to escape into the sky with Donkey Kong aboard the Flying Krock. So, instead of our final battle, we are instead going to go and ascend our way up to the Flying Krock, climbing this ladder from the top of the tower. But before we can actually get up to where K. Rool is, we have one more level to go. And it's not just any level. It's a bramble level. So in addition, that was embarrassing. In addition to this fake out we had, to this little, this embarrassing little thing where it's like, okay, it's a final battle, and then nope, Donkey Kong is gone, which is actually quite rare in a platformer, if you ask me. Don't do that. It's quite rare in a platformer to pull something like that, like a fake out like that, to just say, oh no, that's not the final battle, because Donkey Kong Country 1 didn't really do anything like that, and I mean, it's not like twists were unknown. I mean, I'm not saying it's a huge plot twist or anything, because it's not, but in a platformer, plot twists were common in RPGs, and because RPGs were about the story, and what's a good story without a plot twist now and then? However, this is a platformer, not an RPG. And I think that is worth mentioning because, normally you wouldn't get this kind of thing in an RPG. And now Diddy Kong takes damage. I think we're not going to be able to get to the bonus right away in this one because we do need both Kongs for it. Yeah, we do, and I'm not sure if we're going to get another one. Ah, that's okay, we took damage anyway. An ideal method here would be to just deal with each one of these guys individually, because even though you can run past the first one, the second one will slow you down in time for the first one to catch up to you. And now that we have both Kongs, we can go up to where we need to go, and here it's just a straight shot up. But yeah, it's not so much the fact that, that there was a twist that K. Rool gets away, but then they put in one more level, and it's not just any level, it's a bramble level, which, as we've seen, are some of the hardest, most painful levels in the game. In Screech's Sprint, while I don't think it's the hardest level in the game, and I think the later castle levels are more difficult, I think this level is, within its own right, a very difficult level. And it's just something really cool to end your note on. And here, now for this bonus, we actually do need Dixie. This level is actually interesting in that it forces you to use your Kong's abilities. Like for the bonus, oh god, that was a bad idea. You need both Kongs for that bonus. I think I can do it again if I just go up to where the cannonball is. Yeah, thank goodness. Because I do not like having to redo this. You basically have to do this opening section of the level without taking a hit if you want to get into the bonus. Thankfully, the bonus itself isn't actually too hard, and as I was saying, this bonus does kind of emphasize the idea of this level, in that you need to use both of your Kong's abilities. With Diddy Kong, you want to use the somersault jump. Dixie Kong can do it too, but she's not very good at it. She's nowhere near as she doesn't handle as well with her hairspin jump, and well, they had to give something to Diddy to make him worthwhile. Instead of just Dixie can float, she's automatically better. And in most instances, Dixie is better, but they do find opportunities to make it where Diddy is the more ideal Kong to have. There's just not that many. Now here, I do believe that we might have to... This is not a fun jump. I think we just want to hair spin through here. Yep. And that will get us over here and into this Squawks barrel. Now, once you get into the Squawks barrel, I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay because we have a barrel right here. Now, here we're going to come to the gimmick of this level, and it's a pretty cool gimmick. We're in a race. That is Screech. That is the titular Screech. And this is basically going to be the level now. We are in a race with him, and make no mistake, he is fast, but if you don't know that you hold up and down to increase your descent and flight up, then you pretty much screwed. I mean, that's all there is to it. Plus, Screech doesn't have to worry about the zingers. Now, even though that says we want to go down, we actually want to go east to get that DK coin. However, we are going to lose a life in the process, so that kind of sucks. As a basic word of advice, actually, though, even though I went right into the Flying Krock, I wouldn't do that normally. Or maybe I would, just based on the thrill that comes after, doing that, after, clearing out a world. I wouldn't do that. What you should do, what is the smart thing to do if you do have a shortage of lives, is to go back into K. Rool's Keep, go and save, and then go back to Stronghold Showdown. Because Stronghold Showdown, actually, is basically a free exit from the world. Normally you have to use Funky's Flights or beat a boss to exit a world, but since Stronghold Showdown isn't really even a boss, it's a fake-out boss, you can just use that to leave K. Rool's Keep without having to go see Funky. So it's a free leave, so the smart thing to do is to go back to, I think we've already lost, but what you want to do is basically that. Sorry, I'm just focusing a little bit on this race, even though I think we've already lost. And, well, it's not... Look at this. Look at all these thorns. See, we already lost, though, so that's okay. The good news is we don't have to get the DK coin, so we can just make a straight shot down at that part. So that's good. Sometimes you can afford to kind of self-adjust, and that's at those tight pinches, if you're in the lead at least. And I am in the lead right now, so that is good. So I can take my time a little bit. But you need to be precise. You have to be very, very careful with how you move in this level. Otherwise, you are just gonna get killed. And, yep, you gotta be very precise. There's a letter over there, but I don't care. I'm gonna ignore it. And there's a barrel over there, but it's no good for us. Why are those there? And that is our finish line. And we did it, and we won, and we beat freaking Screech, and we aren't going to die. Instead, we are just going to finish the level and get ourselves some bananas. And that is Screech's Sprint. And by beating Screech's Sprint, we unlock Funky's Flights, which of course we need to leave, and Kong College, which we need to save. So now we have actually defeated all the levels that we need to defeat before we get up to the proper flying Krock. Of course he would get his friggin' ladder tangled in some brambles. I think he did that intentionally, but look at this thing. It's awesome. This is an awesome flying ship. But I digress. I am not going to, you know, fawn over how cool this thing is and how kind of out of place it is and how the castle's right there. And I'm doing it. But anyway, without further ado, we are moving on to K. Rool Duel. Let's go! It's Donkey Kong! Oh, that is just mean. This is K. Rool Duel, and this is Kaptain K. Rool, the one we have been chasing throughout the entire game, and as you can see, Donkey Kong is right up there. And here is the gimmick of the battle. This is not a normal boss battle. In Donkey Kong Country 1, you would basically jump on all of the bosses. All of the bosses in Donkey Kong Country 2 usually incorporate a throwing mechanic, in case you haven't noticed. That's kind of been a theme here, and they bring it back here. And this is what all the cannonballs among all the worlds have kind of been preparing you for, but not really. They've been a repetitive theme, and now it's coming to a head with these. This is K. Rool Duel. This is a tough fight. This is a challenging battle, and you gotta get it just right. You cannot jump on K. Rool, even though it looks like you should be able to, but you can't. I love this boss battle. I am not gonna lie. This is one of my favorite boss battles in all of video games. This is probably in my top 5 Super Nintendo boss battles, and I don't think it gets enough credit. I think I might be overrating this battle. So we've hit him 3 times, and it seems like that's the end, but it's not. Donkey Kong is freaked out, and we are starting round 2 of K. Rool Duel, where he will shoot an entire wave of spiky cannonballs at us, and we just gotta keep dodging them. Then when a barrel appears, you throw it in there. One of the most critical parts of this fight is when he does shoot the cannonball back out of his blunderbuss, and you have to avoid that. And of course, we have more gimmicks in this fight to follow, where he will just keep this wave of, you know, cannonballs going at us. I have done this fight several times in my life. Well, yeah, in my life, because I love this fight so much, so I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. But this fight, do not underestimate this fight. This is a brutal challenge for your first time, for your first several times. It took me forever to beat this battle on my first playthrough of the game, because K. Rool takes a lot of hits, and he is just an endurance round. He's always been an endurance round. That's kind of been his characterizing features across games, and even though tough, you might deny that tough is a feature you can attribute to a character, but he can go on forever, and his battles are long and challenging, and if you die, you have to start the whole thing over. And there we beat him in round 2, but it's still not enough. Thankfully, this game, unlike Donkey Kong Country 1, actually gives you a refresher. Now here he'll shoot poisonous gas at us. That will actually mess with our controls. The blue gas, if it touches you, will slow you down, and, well, that's just no good. And of course he can turn invisible now because he has some kind of satanic powers, but we don't worry about that. We hit him again, and we are at the final stretch of the fight, actually. We are almost at the end. Am I going to do this on my first try? That'd be great. Now the red ones, I think, invert your controls. Yeah, the red ones invert your controls. Maybe the blue ones freeze you in place and you have to break free, and the purple ones, or the red ones slow you down, I think. Yeah, red ones slow you down. And then the purple ones will actually invert your controls. And unfortunately, I got hit by it, and that is really bad to get. Because for this final stretch of the fight, he is going to do a gimmick and knock us away. This is the hardest part of the fight by far, because he's going to start teleporting around and basically do that. So now we got to start the whole fight over. But the thing is, I don't even mind starting this fight over. I'm not going to show you the whole fight because it does drag on a bit, but I love this fight and I love doing it again. And one of the most underrated tracks in this game is Crocodile Cacophony, which is actually the theme of this battle. I'll let you listen to it for a bit. Well, not this part, but there's a specific part where it just kind of spikes up, like right around here. I just love that part of this fight. I just love this track, even more than it probably deserves credit. Alright, I am going to make this go faster now. Are you ready for speed fighting King K, Kaptain Rool? We're gonna do it! Also keep in mind that the barrel will break after you hit him again, so you can't just store your barrels. Although that would be nice. Just everything about this fight, from K. Rool's design to the stage that we're in. We're up in the sky. You can see the background there. I know it's a cheap effect nowadays, but back then this was, even back then it was kind of, you know, not that great, but I just love it. The atmosphere, the music, the boss mechanic, his gun, his outfit, just everything about this fight. I love it. It's great. You might disagree, but as far as I'm concerned, this is one of my favorite boss battles in game history. And we're almost at the end here again, so I am not going to cut from cannonball to cannonball for this final stretch. The last purple one is really hard to avoid. This part is only hard if you get hit by the red stuff. That's kind of how it goes, is that these last stages are only hard if you get hit by the purple gas, or him, he does get harder to avoid too, but I can never quite get this. There we go. Now he's going to start sucking from the right, and no, god dang it. Well, we still got another hit left, and we're gonna take advantage of that while we can. I gotta be careful not to duck and hit down, as long as I'm still here. And we might be able to do this, but oh no, 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 no! Aw, crap. Incidentally, if you do lose Dixie at this part, that's pretty much a death sentence because of just how dangerous these things are to avoid. I don't even know how you're supposed to avoid these as Diddy Kong alone. And we are not going to make the same mistake we've made the previous times, or maybe we will. I don't really actually like this part of the fight because it's so hard to actually figure out where he'll appear and what he'll do, and it's so hard to get the reaction for it right. And there he goes off to the side, and we got him! But that is a terrifying last shot. And for that, King K. Rool is down. But no, he's getting back up. But no! Donkey Kong breaks free, and of course saves the day for us. That's kind of funny. And with that, King K. Rool falls into Kremque. I knew you'd do it, Diddy, my boy, but how could you fail, having learned all you know from old Cranky here? Yeah, you shake that cane. You've rescued that lazy grandson of mine and dumped K. Rool in his own filthy swamp. Not bad for a novice. Novice my ass. Of course, if I'd been playing, I'd make sure that K. Rool never tries a cheap trick like this again.
I reckon I'd have found all the Krem coins and completed the so-called Lost World. Oh well, one can't expect everything from your first game, can we?
Lost World, huh?
One more thing, how many of my special video game hero coins did you find? A real player such as myself would have found plenty, I'm sure.
Those are actually the DK coins we've been looking for. And he is going to see how we did. And we have actually gotten many of them. But what do they actually do when we get them at this end sequence part of the game? We have 34.
Well, I've got a second screen, and about time too. Now shut up, everyone, while I read the eagerly awaited results of my prestigious Video Game Hero Awards. Hey, not bad for a youngin'. Of course, you're gonna have to find a few more if you want to be as big as hero as I was.
So as you can see, we only have 34 DK coins. Mario has 39, of course, and Yoshi, what is Yoshi doing here? Has 29. If you had less than 19, or if you had less than 20, you would actually not even get third. Third would go to Link, and you can see Link's thing in the trash that says no hopers, and next to that you can actually also see Sonic's shoes and Earthworm Jim's gun, so that's cool. But yeah, that is actually Donkey Kong Country 2. We beat the final boss, but we are not done the game. However, for now, we will be getting our cast of characters. We got the lazy landlubbers, so we have some land-based creatures. Yeah, and here we're gonna do it at Clubba's kiosk for some reason. So Click Clack, Spiny, and now we can see the names of all the things that I couldn't remember the names of. Cat o' Nine Tails. I actually knew that as this enemy before I knew it was a whip. Flitter, which I was insulted for not knowing the name of. Mini Necky. Interestingly, Necky doesn't appear in this game. Necky was a normal enemy in Donkey Kong Country 1. Zingers are a lot bigger. I think Zingers are actually bigger than they were in Donkey Kong Country 1 as well. They got a redesign for sure. Screech is kind of weird to count as a normal enemy because he isn't. Submerged Sea Dog, so we're going to be getting some aquatic enemies here. Flotsam. The green ones were more dangerous. Shuri, like Shuriken, because they spin like a star and they throw themselves at you, I guess. Whatever. Puffed Up. Not going to do the puff up animation because why not? Lockjaw, good old Lockjaw. I'm not just going to be talking about the characters here, but, you know, this is actually preceding the credits, and as we can see, Snapjaw is more dangerous than Lockjaw. And then the Kremling Cutthroats, the most, you know, Clomp, who is actually quite a rare enemy in this game. You don't actually see him that often for being, like, the basic Kremling Mook. Clingers, you know, the Kremlings, I like how they give the Kremlings their own category. It's cool. Kaboing, one of my favorite enemies in the game because, you know, as I've said several times, spring-loaded peg legs. Clampons replaced Claptraps, who are kind of tiny, and I like the Claptraps more. Clobber, who does not make a honking sound. I don't know when you would ever hear that. Oh, Krook. Double hooks. It's kind of hilarious. I'm not sure if I've ever actually seen Krook's walking animation. Did he? Or am I just insane? Cutlasso is one of my favorite enemies in this game as well for his giant swords. Cloak is cool. Cannon is, you know, out of cannons, I guess. Cruncha is interesting in that in Donkey Kong Country 1 or 3, you would have an enemy, you would have a Kong capable of killing it with a basic jump, but this game just has Diddy and Dixie, so you can't. And a creepy cackle, who may have been Mr. X, but we'll never know, unless somebody comes out and says it. And good old Clubba. Clubba's our friend. And barnacled bosses, I suppose. Crow, oh Crow. And then you died, and then we killed your ghost. Cleaver. I like you, Cleaver. It was a cool realization that most of these bosses you actually fought through throwing, whereas in the first game it was just jumping on them, including King K. Rool. King Zing was kind of the only exception, and even then you were throwing with your mouth. And good old Kaptain K. Rool rides across the gangplank and makes his thing. So yeah, animal buddies, good old animal buddies. Rambi. There were 5 animal buddies in this game, and they're better than the ones I think that you got in Donkey Kong Country 1. The only 2 that didn't make an appearance in this game were Espresso the ostrich and the frog, Winky the frog. And Winky was alright, and Espresso was fast, but they're not as good. Clapper, what? I guess that's kind of an animal buddy. And Squawks. Oh yeah, Squawks was in the first game too, but he was just a light in one level. And interestingly enough, he was basically Glimmer in that game, but not in this game. but then they actually made Squawks one of the most enjoyable characters to Animal Buddies to play as. And the Kong, Swanky, we visited you twice. Funky, we visited you like once. Hey, dudes. And then we ride, yeah, whatever. Wrinkly, you do not have a good fate in the future. Rare will not be kind to you. Cranky, you are the best Kong, of course. And then they tie Donkey Kong back up for the end sequence because they didn't give him a walking animation. That's great. Dixie, good old Dixie. Now, in the Donkey Kong Country 1 in this end sequence, they had a little animation for Donkey Kong and Dixie Kong, and I'm kind of sad, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, I'm kind of sad that they didn't do the same here, but that is our entire cast of characters, and Ye Scurvy Kong crew, which is basically just the programmers for the game. This is the credits proper. If you look at that map in the background, you can actually see DK Isle leading up to the top of Crocodile Isle, and where it says treasure, I guess it just means, you know, that's where Donkey Kong is, but we aren't done with the game, as you may have noticed. We are definitely not done in the game, because as you saw, I got all of the DK coins that were possible to get, and I still only had 34 out of more than 39 if we're going to be Mario. So there's still at least 6 DK coins left. And then there's the matter of all of those Creme coins which we got, which we are up to now 75. Well, you might have remembered in the end sequence, and just if you've played this game before and you've been paying attention to Clubba's kiosk and all that other stuff, that we are not done with the game yet because we got to spend those Creme coins on toll booths. And with those toll booths, we're going to be going to the Lost World. The Lost World is going to be our collection of final levels. Some of the hardest levels in the game, no less, with our final DK coins, and then we're going to be finding the secret of Crocodile Isle. In the meantime, however, hey, Nintendo Power, you're dead. Oh. In the meantime, however, I'm just going to let the rest of the credits play, and, well, I suppose this is where I should get my final thoughts out, because the other ending of this game doesn't really give a lot of time to say anything. So yeah, Donkey Kong Country 2, still one of my favorite Super Nintendo games, and I think it is a really good game for what it is worth. I think it's aged well. You might argue that the graphics are kind of a little stilted nowadays, S. Miyamoto. But I think it still looks good. I think the soundtrack has held up pretty much better than anything. I think the aesthetic of this game is the best out of all the Donkey Kong Country games. Donkey Kong Country 1 was a little too much on the nature realistic side. I know, even in a game about cartoon animals and crocodiles, even that was a little too realistic. I like the stylized version of this game. But yeah, there we go. We got to the end. I like the stylized nature of this game. The third game was a little too weird and goofy for me. I still love the other games, but this one is definitely my favorite. Of course, we're not saying goodbye to this game just yet, because if we do go past the end screen and back to the main screen, we will see that, okay, let's skip past all this stuff. We're going back to the main screen. We will see that we are only at 87%. And as you can see, we do need 6 more DK coins. That's not really a spoiler. So, in the next episode, we're going to be coming back to Donkey Kong Country 2, and we are going to be starting the Lost World. I hope to see somebody then. Bye-bye.